Da 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 da. What's my good cheer? Welcome everybody. Let's give YouTube a couple of minutes to get those notifications out. In the meantime, if you've never met me before, hi, I'm Cindy. I explore the inside and the outside, and I am so grateful to be here in this moment because I have been in the inside a lot, and it is in that physical part of my world. You know me, I love to go deep. I'm on the norm, punch drunk with what I do. I'm like feeling like I could just like float away, like I'm holding on to a bouquet of helium balloons. But today I've been a little bit in this sense of my own reality, in the position that I am in my life, really taking a look at my life, looking at things in also different aspect, no, not different aspect, different perspectives. Lots of times, I'm guilty. Lots of us are guilty of being in that imposter syndrome, where we don't think we're good enough, where we don't think sometimes that we have something positive or accurate to bring to the table, even though in our minds, possibly we might think that in our physical human aspects, we sometimes quite often don't. And that's what I was struggling with today, and taking a look at my life and looking at the decisions. Hello, Eugene. Look at the decisions I've been making in this past year. And and looking at my life where I'm in this moment, where I would like to be, but also not taking into consideration, you know where I've been, where I've started, and where I'm at right now. We think of where we're at right now, but if you go back 3 or 4 years and take a look at your life, and you were probably thinking and feeling, right? That exact same thing of where you were at. And this is a lesson, that I learned, and I'm grateful for the people that I bump into in my life that offer up such great insight, such great information that it actually calms the system, that you actually have confidence in it as if it is a fact, because it is a fact, right? Because we've taken it as a part of our understandings. And we all do this to some extent, right? Lots of times, whether it's in your own religion, lots of times we are following beliefs that aren't truly ours, that they're actually attached to us by culture and traditions. And because, this is how your parents learned and were brought up in their lives, and they're passing these insights down to their children. And there are lots of amazing insights in this world, lots and lots. But lots of them are just things that we pass down to our children as truths, and we don't even know where the actual source of that truth is actually based on. And we can be passing down mistruths down to our kids, right? To generations down the road. And it's not like we meant to, right? It's just in our follow the leader, one when we talked about community yesterday for about the 100th time this year, right? It's in wanting to belong to a community, and whether that community is your friends, your family, whether it's your coworkers, whether it's a sports group or a community group or hobbies. We all want to feel like we belong. And in order to feel like we belong, sometimes we take on the beliefs and understandings of the group. It's like me and my brand. If you came into my Sunday night show, especially Chatters Live, there is an unspoken, even though we let each other know in our conversations and in our insights what bothers us and what we're gung ho for, we have a set of base values that we all move along in the live shows, in our conversations, and we don't really have, well, I'm so involved in the flow of what I'm doing, I don't really notice, but my moderators, they're on it. If there's a swear word, oh my goodness, they're like what's the kung fu guy name? Oh, it just slipped my mind. It just slipped my Bruce Lee. There you go. Bruce Lee doing the chop, chop, chop. They'll have you out of there so fast if you say something inappropriate, things that rub that group, right? And it's just not that group, it's our group. And we somehow came up, right? I don't have to say anything. I don't have to do anything. I don't have to point anything out. It's just everybody kind of takes care of me. And it's like a community for me. That's my community. This is the what I steward over on Sunday nights. And I don't particularly, I don't think, censor myself, but we are all brought up in certain ways. And my family had baselines of values too, right? Similar to the values of my channel. So it makes me think sometimes, my moderators pick up on me and are just acting on my behalf because they know me so well, because I'm not a big swearer, right? Like, just to swear, you say the shit word, right? And you'd be like checked out so fast. And I don't look at that as a bad thing, because it is in those considerations that we have for each other. And that's not always the case. And just because somebody swears a lot and has gutter mouth, it doesn't mean that they're bad people. It's just that there's a time and a place for everything. And on my live shows on Sunday nights, yeah, right, there are set values, baseline of values that we work on. And it's only based on my, right, um what is it, my genuineness, right? And again, that my moderators pick up on what's comfortable and what's not comfortable for me. And they pick up, right? You think I'm sensitive, right? Just because I'm here, just because I'm showing up to the table and setting that example for others, it doesn't mean that we understand that sometimes it is in our traumas and it is in our upbringings that make us into the people that we are. But just because I'm here and somebody else might not be, that doesn't mean my traumas are any bigger, right? It only means that they just weren't so overwhelming for me that they put me under, right? That they didn't put me under. Sometimes it's just that sense of tolerance that we have, that resilience that we have, that determination, right? That ability to stick our heels into the ground and break ourselves, or, right? And we have to appreciate that. We really do, because again, that's all a part of us. And each one of us, we should be able to make these decisions for ourselves rather than allowing the past generation to do that for us in putting us in our place. Or, in my case, we had free choice in my family. All us kids, all four of us girls, we were given free choice in the movement that we made, but it wasn't without influence or manipulation. And so sometimes that free choice isn't actually a free choice. We actually got sheep herded into it, or we got cornered into it, or in my case, guilt and shamed into it. And again, just because I've had those experiences, it doesn't mean somebody else hasn't had even worse experiences than that. It's all in our choices. And, lots of us don't like to butt heads. We would much rather follow the traditions of the past generation, and because it's easy for us, sometimes we can choke on those conflicts that we have in butting heads, but we don't visually and we don't vocally, right, express it. But in our minds we could be swearing away, right? We could be punching walls in our imaginations, and we could be choking on that. And that's not healthy for us. And, I know, because in my experiences in my life, I was that person that couldn't always control that not butting head or pointing out different differences or untruths, or um, whatever it was in that opposition to what I was experiencing, listening to, or seeing. And when you see it and experience for yourself, you can't really argue with that. And yet we do quite often. Uh, it right. I'm not always that person who turns the other cheek, but I do feel out the circumstances. And we're just going to stop right here. We're going to send some good cheer out to the fire station and the paramedics, that they get to their destination, that it's a false alarm, and they'll be able to just turn around and go back to the station. I can see the paramedics are right behind the fire truck. So yeah, I live behind a fire station. This is the second time today, not like yesterday. Oh my goodness, it was like 5 or 6 times yesterday that the fire trucks went by. But then again, it's been really cold this past week, and the vulnerable still have not settled into their sheltering circumstances yet, right? So right now they're in doorways and stuff, and right, they're looking for spots along the bank so they can pitch their tents and their little communities and stuff. And I would suspect that there's a little bit of frustration in that. And at the same time, right, this is the Christmas season, and everybody is looking to get ahead a little bit, even the vulnerable. So when you go to the malls or the liquor stores or the grocery stores, everybody is out full force. I haven't given anything this week. I'm thinking right now, no. No, I haven't given anything this week, but those funds come in and we'll give out a little bit for the Christmas season to the best of our abilities. You don't give away your last penny, your last dime, but the spare change in your pocket, whatever you can do, especially when people are struggling, right? I'm sure people are not quite settled into winter. I'm glad November is out, but it just seems like our December is like twice as crazy as November was. And again, I have to think of my own circumstances, like when I came in today, about taking a look about your choices and where you are in your life and the different experiences you have, to really have an appreciation of how it really was, right? You can think, oh, Cindy, you're so depressed. You're so, right? You're so miserable. Get out of it, snap out of it. But then I have to think, it was only a couple of weeks ago that, my best friend, my cat, passed away. And I don't think of this. I'm trying to get over that little bit of grief that I have, right? And it pops up in the system on occasion when I'm making the bed, or I'm going to bed, or right when I'm looking for a little bit of company or stuff. So I recognize that, right, I still have this in my system. But if I didn't today look back and go, oh my goodness, it's only been a couple of weeks, a few weeks, Cindy, that your cat passed away. Like, do you expect us to jump up and carry on? Right? And when you think about in the moment why you might be sad, or right, you're shedding a tear, that you're actually doing yourself a favor. You're giving yourself that gift. You're showing yourself that you matter. But I could have easily not even recognized it. Like, seriously, that's in the moments of just trying to put the past into the past, we don't realize sometimes, most of the time, it's the past that's affecting the present. And if we don't get that in check, and it doesn't mean putting things off to the side, it's like getting over your grief in the moment. It's like taking into that consideration, like it's okay to be it's okay to be sad like that, right? It's not like it's a truly negative, right? There's no aggression in it. I'm not looking to blame anybody over it. There's no shame or guilt. Like, it's just sadness, and it's the heaviness. And each one of us carries some form of heaviness in our regular day to days. And it's, how we hold it, how we handle it, how we feel it, right? How we're able to experience it when we have to, right? Because I had to feel like, why am I feeling heavy today? Why do I feel a little bit sad or melancholy? And then you stop and you go, oh my goodness, Cindy, what? It's supposed to be popcorn and cotton candy and sprinkles, right? Gravy on the mashed potatoes. No, life is not like that. And in partnering with myself, right? The idea is to alleviate those feelings the best that we can, right? But it's to keep ourselves in finding things to involve ourselves in that lightness that we're looking for, so that we're not going back and looking at the past, but we're still holding that sadness. And when we're just picking up and just patting ourselves and saying it's okay to be sad, but we got this stuff to do, and you get the stuff done and you feel a little bit better. And again, those small moments when we do forget, right? And I forgot that, I just lost a cat. It's okay to feel a little bit heavy today. It's not like it's 24/7. It's not like it was the first couple of days, right? That you had that experience, that things get better and things move on, and people think, oh my goodness, it's never going to get better. But it's true, right? Time does heal. It does heal. I know from experience, and you can be in the most heartbreaking thing that you've ever experienced in your whole life, that you think you're never, ever, ever going to get through it, that things will never be the same. It's true. Things will never be the same, right? But change is inevitable, and it builds resilience. And the next time, and there will be a next time, you'll have that little bit of understanding. You'll know how to move through it a little bit better, right? And we'll just slowly get better and better at it. But will it be totally resolved? No, right? That it's a human trait, and it's a beautiful trait to have. And there are lots of lessons in those sad moments, in those moments full of grief, just as many memories as there is in weddings and birthdays and, right, graduations. And, we have to think that if we can celebrate the lessons in the things that we got tripped up on in our lives, or messed us up in a way, that there are maybe even better gifts in that, right? In being able to go back to that memory and see it through a different set of eyes, maybe the eyes of the other characters in those experiences, or maybe, recognize by putting yourself in your own shoes, because you were genuine in the moment. You didn't let yourself get involved emotionally in that moment, because we don't always do, right. We're always aware that everything is an example to somebody, and we all want to show ourselves well. But in those moments of sadness, sometimes it's hard to get control of the emotions, and that's when you got to have a little bit of compassion for yourself, and hopefully a little bit of compassion for somebody else. But change is going to come in to your life, right? There's no getting away from that. But there'll be lessons and opportunities to make choices in that, because, right, once you're in the change, once it's painful, right, what's another dish gonna matter? Bring it all on. I would much rather have all the pain at once, deal with it all at once, and then have it resolved and be able to smile again, be able to live again, right? Be able to experience again in a way that doesn't hurt, doesn't make me frustrated, doesn't make me sad, doesn't make me full of grief. Okay, you guys, it's probably for me, right? I do it to myself, but what I do, I feel it's important. And if it's only important to me, That's important enough. Okay, you guys, let's grab a card if you've never hung out here before. 54 powerful words. They're just powerful words. If you have never come in before, hopefully you can take this word for yourself and maybe work with it for the next 24 hours. Watch how it comes across your path, and it does every time. It's like that word community that like I said, I've gotten like a gazillion times in the past month. I would have to say 6 or 7 times that it has popped up. 54 powerful words. There's still words in this deck I haven't even pulled yet, right? So it gives you food for thought, doesn't it? Okay, you guys, we're not going to pull the word community, guaranteed. We're going to pull something else. We're going to go into it for a couple of minutes. It's the first perspective, first thing that comes to my mind, right? And then we're going to call it a day. Here we go. What a great word. This is one of my favorite words. I'm very surprised it isn't my main word, but I believe change is a very important word, especially, when I have so many beliefs tied into this stage of evolution that I feel like we're all moving through in this moment, that, it fits in very well. It keeps me going in all fact, because lots of times we feel that we're not getting anywhere. And this was kind of some of the topics that I was on today. So this is why I'm saying too also that this is a good word to have. I'm thinking my movement, the movement I've made in my past, the movement or lack of, right? That I'm making right now, and the movement that I want to make for the future, right? That's past, present, future. And when I'm working in all three of those consistently, right? Consistently, that it kind of sometimes it retangles wires that I think that I've untangled, right? And that happens sometimes. But in that opportunity to go back and in that repetitiveness of making these mistakes, we have an opportunity to go back and learn how to tie our shoes the right way. I'm just using that as an analogy. It could be anything, right, that we're trying to do, because lots of times we don't feel like we're getting anywhere. We just feel so stuck. We feel so lost. But because I'm a big believer in baby steps, I understand that I just have to make some little bit of movement. And it's up to me even when I get myself in those moods to find little ways to make me smile, to make me feel better, to make me feel like everything is going to be okay, to be that cheerleader for myself when there aren't cheerleaders in my vicinity in the moment, right? And that's how I make a little bit of movement in my own evolution. It's not asking us to go 100 miles an hour. It's just asking that we move, that we get off the couch, that we put that remote control away, right? And we do something that will benefit us, because we can't help anybody else. If we're in the moment, we can't even do for ourselves. And the best things that we can do is to get off of that couch. And if that's all you can manage is to get off the couch and just stand there, then just stand there, right? For 10 or 15 minutes or until your legs start to ache, and sit down and be proud, right? Be proud that you were able to get that done, right? And if you recognize that you made a little bit of movement that you might otherwise not been able to do if you hadn't cheerleaded yourself on, maybe you'll be capable of doing a little bit more, like walking to the kitchen and doing to the dishes, or going to the bedroom and making your bed, or doing what I just did before I came live and I was scrubbing my bathtub, right? When you're not feeling good, I know for myself, when I get things done, when I feel that I've accomplished, right, that I've contributed a little bit, and it doesn't just have to be for myself, but for others too, right? In that little bit of extra change in our little change purse, and we give that away, and that feel good feeling. And I'm a true believer, you get what you give. And that might have been only a few pennies that you might have given away, but they might have been your very last pennies. You get what you give, right? And if that was your very last pennies, that was everything. And I would wish you everything in return, right? And it works that way sometimes. It really does, right? It's the evidence for myself that keeps me showing up here every single night. And that's the truth, right? And we have to be able to, each one of us, see this progress for ourselves, right? And that only comes from making movement. But when that movement is so hard, what can you do? You know what needs to be done. What little thing in this moment right now can you do to get yourself a little bit closer to getting it done? You know you're not going to do the whole thing. You're not delving into that big project in the moment. You just don't have the gumption, right? You don't have the stomach for it. It's too big, right? It just seems so impossible. But what little thing can you do, right? Can you get the ingredients out of the cupboard and put it on the counter? Can you go to the garage and start cleaning the rust off your power tools and making sure that you have all the parts you need to do that repair? Maybe tomorrow you felt so good about doing that stuff in the garage that maybe tomorrow you'll take a trip to Home Depot and really get those materials that you need. And oh my goodness, you're on a roll now. Maybe the next day you got the chainsaw out all oiled and ready to go, and you got that plywood ready to cut, to do those repairs, to do that renovation that you've been putting off forever. And that's how you make movement, right? Just start off small, and not just get it done, but recognize what little thing, doesn't matter how small it is, recognize it, celebrate it, right? Make it a big deal, because for, right, highly sensitives and empaths, it is often a very big deal. You guys, what does it say here? Movement is an action that gravitates to the result. Oh my goodness. What was I just saying? You guys, have a great night. Have a great day. If you're just starting your day, make a little bit of movement for yourself. And more importantly, take a look, right? Every time you make a little bit of movement in the next 24 hours, take note of it, right? Celebrate it. And you probably recognize how much it's actually showing up, right? And that might give you a little bit of incentive to make a little bit of more. Okay, you guys, have a great night, and we'll see you tomorrow.